Okay. Can everyone hear me? Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for coming to join us today. And I hope you're enjoying the e-commerce expo experience. There's always a nice buzz around the room. We're going to kick off a couple of introductions. So I'll go first. I'm Adam. I'm Managing Director at S360. We are a brand and performance agency. We are based in the UK with a team in London. We also have offices across Europe as well, 7 offices across Europe. We help lots of different clients, but we are exclusively focused at working with e-commerce and retail brands. They all have different challenges, many of which we will talk about today. But the one thing they have in common is they are looking to drive more and more of their revenue through e-commerce and digital. Typically, they have extensive wholesale networks. They may have retail partners, but it's digital where they want to increase that percentage. But enough from me. Very excited to hear more about Philip Kingsley today, and we have Sophie joining me. So I'll let her introduce herself and maybe give us a bit of a top level about the Philip Kingsley story and how it started.
Oh my God, hello. Yeah, I'm Sophie from Philip Kingsley. I've been at the brand for a few years. Digital marketing manager, so overseeing all paid media content. How Philip Kingsley started, unsurprisingly started by Philip Kingsley. It started with the clinic in the 50s, and then listening to clinic concerns, even sort of celebrity concerns. Retail range then developed around, I think, in the 1998. And then there was a move to D2C. So we are working across the UK and the US specifically, but heading up on our side, the D2C side of the business.
So it is true that Philip Kingsley invented the term bad hair day. Is that right?
You're trumping me with my facts.
I think if that's true,
I think that is right.
It
yeah.
is correct. Yeah. I think that is very cool. I've already put her another spot. So it is obviously a product that's been around a long time, but moved into a physical product around 15, 20 years ago. As a product goes, it's a little bit on the higher side in terms of price point. How do you go about trying to sell what is a more considered purchase?
Yeah, I feel like, especially in the beauty space, and even the current economic climate, like everything is a bit more of a considered purchase. For us, there's a lot of competition in our vertical, and we can't keep up with certain companies like Estee Lauder or Unilever in terms of budget and marketing. But what sets us apart is a few things. One is our heritage, so that is that Philip making the products in the clinic. We've got our trichological expertise, so it's all the product is tested by the trichologist, so it is very science-led. It's about, for us, getting the trust of the customer. When we did a customer survey recently, what every customer said is that why they come back to Philip Kingsley to buy is because the product works. So what we incorporate in our comms is very much that benefits, but also the customer expertise. I mean, I know beauty is my kryptonite, and I know when I'm shopping, I go solely by customer reviews. So for us, it's about tapping into sort of those consumer behaviors within our content, and the reviews for our products just speak for themselves.
Yeah, if there are any merchants in the room or people working in-house, I definitely think understanding your customer is one of the biggest things that we need to do, not just once a year, but in regular surveys. So Typeform is a survey tool that we've used, and it's a very effective way of being able to see both score-based questions, comments, and that's something that Philip Kingsley have always done quite well. In terms of considered purchases, I think people often have a concern that, you can't sell a product at a high price point online. And I remember 4 or 5 years ago, we started working with Savoir beds. They sell mattresses for £40,000. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, okay, anybody can sell anything online. The price point is all about the person buying. And it's something Philip Kingsley do very well. In terms of the mixture, so you're doing a lot of selling via the website. How do you balance the website with all your other wholesale partners?
With great difficulty, in full transparency. Obviously, with the wholesale side of the business, we don't get too much visibility in terms of promotional activity. In order to sort of tap their audiences, you have to use marketing spend with them. So where we don't get we do the educational piece on our comms. So it is about our heritage. It is about why the products were created the way they were and what they address. So for us, it's also, I think what sets us, what we try and lean on is that entire customer experience, whether it is through paid media comms or it is, a unique experience on the website, customer service from delivery, fulfillment, and all those sort of touch points, so that people choose to come to us versus maybe a competitor. But yeah, it's always a challenge.
Yeah, I think, so I'm very fortunate. I've worked with Philip Kingsley for 10 years now. And I remember when we introduced the hair quiz. So that was the first time we'd done anything which is really trying to engage customers before they purchase, to really understand kind of what type of product do they use, their hair type, etc. And definitely it's those kind of experiences I feel that Philip Kingsley does very well. That obviously if you're going to feel unique, you're not going to get that same kind of experience.
Yeah, I think with us also there's always like iterations we try and do. We don't expect to nail everything straight away. So with the hair quiz, that's something on our roadmap. But we all are very collaborative in our way of working. We talk about our pain points as a consumer. I mean, I'm a marketer, but I'm also a marketer's dream. Like, if someone told me this makeup would make me look like 18, then I'll buy it. So we also sort of lean into what gets us as consumer, but with the hair quiz, it's about each of us identifying what our pain points are as a consumer with other brands, because everyone does a hair quiz. We can't say that we're unique in that sense, but incorporating those pain points and addressing those pain points within our comms.
And there's so many good examples in the beauty space. I think the original is one where they really managed to match up that on-site engagement with, say, their quiz, that find the right skincare routine for you, but then matching that directly to the product. So you've had that whole experience of almost replicating speaking to somebody in store. So you walk out the shop with something that that works for you. I want to kind of maybe switch on to think about, obviously personalization has become a massive thing in the last 5 years. It's a buzzword, definitely. How are you currently doing personalization at Philip Kingsley?
I mean, from a paid media point of view, I feel it's how to be personable in the most unpersonal way, because all that sort of like human side of any like the platform is obviously you're relinquishing a bit each year. You've got ASC on Meta, you've got smart shopping on TikTok. So for us, it's trying to manipulate it in a way that benefits us. But in terms of comms, if we drive leads through paid media, they go into a bespoke welcome flow that sits differently from what someone who might sign up on the website. We'll tailor our comms, whether they're new versus returning, and that won't just be through paid media, it'll also be through the e-com team. So they use Nostos to tailor, all the different segments. Then we'll also do upselling if they, one of the products is our Elasticizer with one sold every 30 seconds. But a lot of people identify that as the brand, they know that first and foremost. So for us, it's also how can we build them into the rest of the range, whether that's upselling on a treatment level or a range level. So it's very much in the comms and the language side of it.
Yeah, so obviously Sophie was talking there about Nosto. There's a lot of tools, and you probably will stumble across many of them today. There's other ones such as Fresh Relevance, Optimizely we've used. They're very good for that on-site experience. The main things that you can do are split testing landing pages, for example. If you think, I think there's a certain pain point that our product covers that is more popular, but I'm not too sure, you can show 50% of your customers one, and then 50% the other. So that's very good in terms of that on-site experience. I'm trying to think if there's any others. With advertising now and ad creative, you can now use tools such as Smartly. So Smartly leans into AI, another fantastic buzzword that everyone's talking about, and does a very good job of trying to split test ad creative on Meta, on TikTok, so that you are tailoring it to the user. An example really quickly is Specsavers did a fantastic campaign where they show people based on the day of the week, are you happy it's Friday? But they would misspell Friday in classic Specsavers fashion to make you look twice. So lots of tools out there that you can lead into to help with this kind of thing. Sophie gave a fantastic stat of there's one Elasticizer sold every minute, which I think is brilliant.
30 seconds.
Okay. And what do you put that down to? So, customers obviously love the product. And, what do you put that down to? And then how do you keep driving that loyalty?
I think it goes back to what our customers say, which is the product works. It's almost got its own community, and it's got its own story as well. Philip created it originally for Audrey Hepburn when she was doing films and her hair was really poorly damaged. But I think it just goes back to it's unchanged, it works. We do every year. We also do bespoke fragrances for it. But it's just an iconic treatment. It's instant results as well. But it's got thousands of 5-star reviews. So I think the success of it is word of mouth and the customer sentiment towards it. So it's definitely, in terms of how we can keep that going, we've done refill packages this year. We've done subscription services we've also launched so that they can always get it on a time basis that suits them as well.
Yeah, I think it depends, obviously, if you are selling a product. Two types of product, I guess. So I would call, the beauty category, particularly shampoo and hair care, more of that replenishment product. There was about 3 or 4 years ago, we talked about how to bake in that retention into the customer journey in a stronger way. So actually introducing retention into that first purchase with subscribe and save type model. You can use platforms such as Recharge if you're on Shopify to do that. And I think thinking about how do you try and remove obstacles. How do you make it easier for people alongside, say, your email flow, which sends out at that point you think that somebody is replacing, they in need of more product. I think the other thing that you guys do very well is obviously those big campaign moments. And one of our clients who does this very well is Mercedes F1, a very different product, but they really build their whole marketing calendar around their different races. They know that people get excited about the new product that's going to come out at Silverstone. So if you can try and find those moments throughout the year that your customers are going to be kind of the most engaged.
Yeah, it's something we definitely want to do more of in 2025 is being there at the right time for the right moment. We're looking at localized digital out of home for next year as well, particularly around London. But I went to a talk recently and it was talking about, on the tube your hair gets ruffled up and I leave to go to work and come into work looking very different because of my commute. So how can we be there for that person in the right time who might, let's say, want our frizz fighting gloss serum or want, some styling products as well. So it's something we're looking to be much more there, front of mind for next year as well.
Yeah, sounds good. A lot of what we talked about today, it does require a really good understanding of customer. It requires a good understanding of data and tracking that data. It is a dreaded word, reporting, at the moment, but we're going to talk about it. How are you currently reporting at Philip Kingsley?
We use Magento and GA4. I'm going to keep my answer. My feelings for GA4 are quite mixed, mostly negative, just because of the platform. But we also use platform where required. But we use predominantly those ones. We use Raise for customer insight and segmentation as well. But the most source of our truth for revenue is Magento and GA4. But I'd like a platform, and you can take this away and do it, that can basically identify the brand and performance and the effectiveness of all of it and incorporate all of those different ones that we use into one nice little dashboard or program.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple. Yeah, GA4, I'm sure everybody who's used it in the last 12 months has found the same issues. The fact, to be polite, it doesn't work. So yeah, I do think there are solutions there if you are having struggles with GA4. One is doing audits. We've obviously helped Philip Kingsley with this, where you basically find the issues, and typically that's maybe one channel's getting lumped into referrals, and you can't see visibility on it. There are other ways you can do it. There's tools like Elevar, which does server-side tracking, effectively meaning that even though there are issues, it still can pull in that data to the platform. But yeah, I think one thing I want to jump on here, you were listing out a few different platforms. How many platforms in total would you say you currently report on or use day to day?
I'm looking at my team, apparently around 10 or something.
10 platforms.
I mean, not myself, but from a business point of view, 10. We mostly use in-platform data for like an engagement and a journey point of view, and then on-site data for paid media. We use Magento and GA4. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's not particularly news to me. It's a big conversation right now. I think it's probably very reminiscent. Has everyone got the same issue I have where you no longer can just have, say, Netflix. You have to have Netflix and Disney and Sky wants something.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon Prime wants something.
I've got all of them.
You got all of them?
Yeah, it's awful.
What's your favorite?
Oh, I'm not loyal to any of them. I go Friends on Netflix and then Disney for my Disney fix. So, yeah, I'm everywhere.
Disney fix. We're going a little bit off topic. The point is, it's getting harder and harder to have sort of one view on anything. These platforms want you to use their platform, and it is a constant challenge. I think the one thing we're working through with a lot of clients, I would look at it in 3 stages. So the first is building your foundations. By that I mean make sure you're tracking what you need to track. Make sure that the data is accurate. Make sure you're using GA4 correctly, whether it's another tool such as Elevar to fix issues. The problem though with those tools is they don't show you everything. So they don't show you multi-channel attribution. So they don't show you that TikTok didn't drive an instant conversion, but actually 20% of your customers found you on TikTok or Instagram and then came through and bought 5, 6, 7 days later. That's what something like Chipaware will do. So you need to get those foundations in place. And the second thing, which is I think what Sophie's referring to when she wants us to build something that does this, but it's having a single source of truth. It's having a single view that you go into every day so you can see everything in one place. Honestly, there is no platform that does that right now. There are visualization tools such as a Power BI, a Looker Studio, but all they are is a shop window for your data. So my biggest recommendation is using very old-fashioned, but most of our clients are using still Google Sheets, Excel, and they are pulling in that data dynamically using a Supermetrics or a funnel, and they are pulling all of that in so that you have effectively all of your key metrics in that sheet. And every single client we work with is very, very different. So I don't know, your key metrics, typically on sort of a day-to-day basis, what would you be looking at?
Well, I mean, it depends. If we have a big campaign moment, then we'll like sort of split it between performance and brand. But generally speaking, it will be revenue.
Yeah.
I think also a big part of it, especially like internally, is that education piece of, you know, you're not going to see that direct ROI from brand, but where, and again, to your point, where you've got so many different platforms, so many different touch points, why they might not come through on, tragically, they might not come through on my paid media ads, they might go direct. So it's also what we do as a team is very much look at the uplift we get from direct, from search, from like affiliates, everything, so that we can still like give some sort of attribution to that brand, because otherwise if we don't give that brand some value, then we'll never get investment for it. So a big piece of it is educating internally why we need to do that top of funnel.
Most CFOs, finance directors, they just want ROAS, they want CPA, and exactly to that point, what we try and implement is a 2-speed strategy. So you are still looking at those, you are still looking at your return on each platform, but you're also looking at those longer term metrics. I think the final thing that I think it needs to happen, as well as that single view, is, you know, that's only good in terms of the context. So did you have a good day last year because you were running a campaign or a promo? What is your category doing? So particularly in beauty, the category fluctuates massively in terms of what activations other brands are doing.
I mean, a year-on-year view is every year something curveball comes your way, whether it's iOS, GA4, something, COVID. So year-on-year views are always trickier. But yeah, especially in the beauty vertical. I mean, hair care, like definitely, I think hair care is, like you say, that sort of personal health care area. So we are lucky in that sense of like, you know, styling might have a bit of a spike in Q4 because of seasonality, but it's not like, you know, in COVID, lipsticks tanked because everyone was wearing face masks. We don't have that sort of reactivity necessarily, but we might get a boost in January because it's everyone's on about like self-care and wellness. So it's definitely like less seasonal than other areas, but I think we try and play into different seasonality where we can.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my last bit of thought on that and advice would be just really focus on the metrics that matter to your business. There's a really good book by John Dower that talks about how they implemented something similar at Google and across the big business that he's worked at. But ultimately, so many times you look at the metric that looks good. So if a metric like conversion rate's down, then you'll look at a different metric to make yourself feel better. Often you need to be very, very fixed on which are the key growth drivers for us. And if it looks bad, why does it look bad? Let's not sugarcoat it, and let's really dig into the why. We've got a final bit of time, and I really want to give a chance if anyone has any questions at the end. So it's that scary time when I can actually say there's less than 100 days until the end of the year. When we think past the exciting peak period and into next year, what are the big priorities for you at the moment?
Yeah, they come with a lot of caveats because we're in the middle of budget chats. But for us, I guess we are looking at sort of diversifying that platform mix, where focusing a bit more on TikTok Shop, potentially looking at some more digital out of home, which we haven't tried yet, but localizing that content for, again, like you said, a bit more of a personal experience. We are also doing increased programmatic, but it will be mostly about diversifying our touch points, but equally again, with personalization, our content, I think, has not been as personable as it could be, so I think that's also something we're looking to focus on. We've got some quite clear customer segments internally, and making sure our content, for example, with models, like if people have got grey hair, they want to maybe see a model that reflects what their hairstyle, hair type is, etc. So really honing in on those key segments and the comms we're pushing out.
Yeah, and I think on that, obviously, we've been chatting to you about how do we diversify, how do we have more people be introduced to the brand for the first time, and definitely platforms like TikTok, digital out of home allow you to do that. I think the big thing, though, that we're really working hard on at the moment is what we're calling trying to attack the attention economy. So everyone's probably the same as me, where you are getting around 1,000 different messages every single day. So when I say message, I'm talking about WhatsApps, Instagram likes, emails, Slack messages, Teams. All of those are messages. Around 30% of those are adverts as well. And so the thing we're trying to do in terms of how we run campaigns, and particularly with Philip Kingsley on this next year, is focus on, are we actually grabbing the user's attention? It's not just about the impression. It's about what are we expecting of somebody when they see an advert. And you can now measure this type of thing. So with the platform DV360, we can actually start to measure, when we do these big display, digital out-of-home campaigns, we can start to measure what's the dwell time on that advert, how long did they spend looking at it, because that is becoming increasingly important as, the internet is chock-a-block with lots of people like us, unfortunately, advertising to you. So that's just something as well to keep in mind. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for Sophie for joining. We did want to throw it to the room if there's any questions. If there's any hands in the air. Great, I think there's going to be a microphone. Here it is.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much for the conversation. And also, on the point of GA4, I've been working with GA4, so I share your pain on, the troubles you're having. Currently, there's a lot of focus around GDPR, and customers now have more control in terms of allowing you to track them or not tracking them, and also devices like Apple and also other companies like Mozilla are prioritizing customer privacy. So how are you currently dealing with that issue? Because now you can't track a lot of what customers are doing on your platforms, on your websites, apps, and so on. How are you currently dealing with that issue to understand the performance of your campaigns?
Yeah, I knew this question would come up. I preempted that earlier. I mean, it's a challenge that I think everyone's facing. I don't think we can safely say that we're nailing it either. For us, it is about looking at the data that we do have and how we can leverage it. So trying to get those customers to sign up with us. Again, it's building the trust as well. We don't, tailoring our comms, we don't want to bombard people all the time as well, so that they, disengage with us by any means. But I think, especially with where cookies and going and everything, it's definitely, we want to harness our first party data, get that really clean, and then we can leverage it from a lookalike point of view as well. But yeah, if you get the answer, please do share it, because I don't have.
To add to that, I also just think let the platforms fight this for you. So the platforms we mentioned a few of today, so Optimized, Triple Whale, Meta, they are all trying to deal with this for marketers because they know it's an issue. So a lot of these platforms are trying to fix issues with pixels and make sure that you grab as much of that data to be able to market to people as possible. So all I'd say is, it's very difficult for you in your roles to fight that, but these platforms are trying to do it for you.
I think what we have noticed over the last year, especially like with how the platforms are going, is like more of our budget is going into stuff like ASC and Performance Max, just because we are seeing, I know the platform will naturally prioritize money to those areas anyway, but we are seeing the direct revenue come from it. So where we are seeing the results from it, we're happy to give the platform some of that control. But we do keep a close eye on it because we are obviously dubious about certain elements. So it's just we are pretty reactive in our decision making. So we will look quite closely at the data to hand. If it's not working, then we'll turn it off. But we do a lot of test and learn as well, especially on the back of like limited data. So what can we do with smaller segments that might work more effectively within our lapse database, or our current customers that haven't bought in the last few months or something like that. So we're we try and be tactical. We'll test the waters with some things. Sometimes they might work, sometimes they might not. But
great. I feel like we could be here all day talking about data challenges, but I don't want to keep you from your lunch, which is probably imminent. The last thing I want to just flag, so Sophie mentioned it, with Philip Kingsley looking at TikTok in a big way next year. A lot of the brands we work with are either doing it or they're thinking about doing it. It is no longer just a Gen Z platform, and it is no longer just a discovery platform. So if you do want to learn a little bit more, we have an event at TikTok's head office in London. It is quite a snazzy space, even if the content doesn't appeal. So if you fancy joining, use the QR code and sign up. And a big thank you to Sophie, and enjoy the rest of the day.